Well, greetings everyone, and welcome once again to another Wednesday night session right here at the Sports Krib. Uh, let's get our little commercial stuff out of the way. As you can see, we're the Sports Krib, home of the Sports Krib Network. You can subscribe and donate at our Cash App there, $ JE King 3. Uh, all proceeds will go toward the Sports Krib and our activities. We're looking forward to having a very special guest tonight, Mr. James Washington. He is the CEO and coach of the Indianapolis Royals. He'll tell us more about that as he comes in. Um, I told him 9 o'clock Eastern time, but he lives in Indianapolis, so uh, we might have a little mix up here in times. But I see Mr. Carroll is back from all of his draft adventures. He's been gone for a little while here. Bill, how are you doing this evening?
A lot has happened since last I was here. So I have been involved in lots of draft and post-draft activity, lots of events. Got to see my little sister, who I haven't seen in over a year recently. Attended lots of graduations, but most importantly, I have been preparing myself to return to the sports grid.
Oh my goodness! All right. Well, plenty of information here. I'm sure Demetrius and the guys here, as you guys, and Dave is a big fan too. But as you guys noticed, that I left all of the news about Josh Gibson and the Negro League and the records. I left all that off because I figured you guys would have a lot to say in your final thoughts. So I didn't want to interrupt that. Dave, how are you doing this evening?
Doing okay. It's good to see Bill, and glad to be back.
Yeah, Reggie said he will not be in, but we are expecting Don and Demetrius. We might get a visit from Mr. Scott, seeing as how the Timberwolves won the other night. So we might get a visit. We never can tell here. But let's start things off here on a very positive note. Uh, Dave, do we have Sue's Corner tonight?
Yeah, we sure do. So here's what Sue had to say. Dave mentioned that you were interested in my opinion of the remarks of the Kansas City Chiefs kicker, whose name still escapes me. She's talking about Harrison Butker, at a graduation of a college whose name still escapes me. I have no opinion. I couldn't care less about someone who I never really heard of speaking at a college I never heard of. It just doesn't matter. What matters, I guess, is that it seems to matter to so many people and has become a lightning rod of religious and political uproar. These days, people are just looking and apparently scouring the internet for a reason to be mad, angry, righteous, whatever they are looking for. I'd like to blame, quote, social media, unquote, but we are social media. We hit the bait clicks. We open the videos. So let's just stop. Or if we persist on living on the internet, let's just look at people like the late, great Bill Walton, who was forever saying, thank you for my life, shine on, peace and love. And that's Sue's Corner.
Sue always has some very profound words to present to us panel of roughnecks here to remind us that there are other things in life, and I do see Mr. Hayes and right on time, Ranger. How we doing, Don?
Yeah, we got a lot going on here in San Antonio. I might lose y'all. We got some heavy thunderstorms coming in, so if I lose you, that's why. We got pounded last night, and looks like we get pounded again tonight. But we need the rain. I never cursed the rain, so it's a double-edged sword, I guess.
How does Denzel put it? You know, when you play for rain, you gotta be content with the mud too. You know, so well, I see
How's the
Rangers
what?
not happy. I see Rangers not happy though. He looks. He sounds like he wants to go outside.
Yeah, he's barking at the a dog that's in the other yard. So the neighbor's dog. Let's go play.
Okay. I see Mr. Washington is here. He seems to have stepped away for a minute. But as I was saying, oh, here he is. Good evening,
How y'all
Mr.
doing?
Washington. And how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Oh, well, everybody's above ground, so we're doing pretty good.
Understood.
But I came across your story while I was doing some social media work, and I had heard about almost every. I thought I had heard about almost every team in Indianapolis, but I see there's a new sheriff in town, and
Yes.
we're going to talk a little bit about that. Uh, but before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into basketball?
My name is James Washington. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. Been playing basketball my whole life, probably since I was 6 years old. I played basketball at Tech High School. Graduated there and played college ball at Joliet Junior College and transferred to Purdue Calumet. Then my last year playing at Purdue Calumet, I tore my Achilles tendon. And from there, I tried to figure out what I wanted to do. And from there, I went back to Indianapolis. I got a teacher assistant job. And at the time, the principal was looking for coaches. I volunteered. That's how I fell in love with coaching from there. And from there, I just been moving up, and up.
So now you also happen to be the owner and CEO of a lot of organizations here. But growing up in Indianapolis and playing at Tech High School, what were some of the key lessons that you took away from those early days on the court?
I say my first lesson I learned from Douglas Park on East Side Indianapolis, as far as playing hard and playing tough. And then at Tech, as far as what made Tech different from different high schools, we didn't have no lockers. As far as one building, we had like 6 buildings. So far as, regular class, you go from classroom to classroom. We go from building to building. You have to make like in 5 minutes. So you always was late. And as far as Tech, you really had to learn on your own. And as far as me going to Tech, there's a lot of good players there. You got to prove yourself. Some people go to high school, it's like it's given to them. They're the star. At Tech, you had to earn it. I had to earn it all the way to my freshman year. So really, I got my rites of passage probably my junior year.
So were you freshman eligible?
Say it again.
Were you freshman eligible?
Yeah, so basically, when I got there, I thought I was going to play varsity. But as far as in middle school, you think you're the guy. Coming to 8th grade, and once you get to high school, it was summer conditioning. I'm at the varsity guards there. As far as I didn't know guys my height could have 40-inch verticals. So I got like a learning experience where I'm used to shooting threes, going to the hole. It's like, nah, dudes my windmilling. And as far as defense and the strength. And the biggest thing I learned at Tech and at high school, as far as from middle school to varsity, is the skill development. Everybody's the same speed, but how can you get past them? And then really it's the basketball IQ. So if you have no IQ, you're not going to play on that level.
Your journey took you through Joliet Junior College and to Purdue Calumet. How did those experiences shape you both as a player and as a future coach?
I say at Joliet, the same thing. I never played guys. I played guys in Illinois, Indiana. At Joliet, you had guys from Texas, California, Mississippi, everywhere. And far as that, learning how to play different styles. And then there at Joliet, every day was a war situation. As far as you had to go at somebody. If not, you're gonna get destroyed. And far as with Joliet, we went to the National 8. It was a good thing at Joliet. And from there, I went to Purdue Calumet. And Purdue Calumet is kind of the same thing. As far as now, it's 6'8" guys now. I'm used to like saying guys my height. Now it's 6'8", 6'4", 6'5". The higher the level, the bigger the competition. of what I learned from Tech, from Joliet to Purdue Calumet, as far as the structure, and that structure I learned and I apply it to my teams now.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about your role as CEO of the Indianapolis Royals.
Oh, man, that's my team right there.
As the CEO of the Royals, what is your vision do you have for the team's future?
I say before last year, I really understand women's basketball. As far as to me, women's basketball, they're more fundamental than men's basketball. As far as the footwork, the shooting. As far as I didn't know, fights can break out anytime during that game. As far as with the dudes, as far as fighting, you might warm up, get ready to fight. In women's basketball, ain't no stop and go. It's an on and off switch. So if you don't stop it, they're going to go at each other. As far as that part, that's what I fell in love with as far as how hard they play. And then out here, as far as women basketball, you have the fever, you have the college. But say if you don't make the fever, you're done with college, where do you play? That's where I come in. But most people don't know as far as how to get overseas. If you don't have an agent, what do you do? That's a part of IPWBL. We give women the opportunity to continue their basketball career. So this year is my second year as far as I call it the championship run season, as far as now I know what to do as far as the structure. You know, on the women's side, the biggest thing, everybody gets hurt every other day, right? So if you're not in shape, you're going to get hurt. And then, okay, can you get the women in shape to play a full season?
How do you balance your responsibilities between leading the Royals and your other commitments?
Ooh, it's tough. So the day job I have, as far as I'm really working on the Royals. So really I'm like ducked off in the corner trying to get the Royal stuff. I'll go on the hallway for a business call and come back. But it balances. As far as the practice I have in the evening. So every Tuesday and Thursday, I have the Royals practice. So it kind of balances itself out.
Okay. What are some of the biggest challenges you face as the CEO of the Royals, and how did you overcome them? How are you working to overcome them?
I say really understanding as far as people look for sponsorships and donations to help them out. And really, people ain't going to help you out till they know you're serious. So far as if you take care of business, if you do it yourself, now I can tell a sponsor, okay, last year I did it by myself. This year I'm doing it by myself. So the third year I can show them, okay, I did this, this, and this. This is what comes with this. So if somebody asks me, okay, what will we gain by being a sponsor? I have 10 women from 3 women from Indianapolis, all 7 are out of state playing. As far as recognition on social media, as far as doing special appearances with the players, doing camps, stuff like that, I can tell the sponsors. But what I learned this year, as far as keeping a family atmosphere, as far as you're going to have your fights infused with your teams and your players, as far as keeping everybody together on the same page. The biggest thing I learned as far as leave nobody out to dry, as far as leave nobody hanging. So the first player knows this to the 10th player, everybody knows the same thing. If you don't have that, that's when arguments come. So I think I did a great job, better than this year than last year, keeping everybody together and everybody on the same page.
So what initiatives have you put in place with the Royals to develop your talent and to compete on a high level?
Me putting out there, we're the best team in the league. So basically putting the pressure on my players, like ain't nobody messing with us. So far as if your CEO, if your coach saying it, now you got to back me. And to me, being confident in what you're saying. And as far as like I say in practice, like we trying to the championship game in Rockford, every practice we end okay, we working this hard to get to Rockford. That's the end goal. That's the main goal. So basically putting out there, manifesting everything I'm trying to do.
Can you share any success stories or proud moments from your time with the Royals?
I say I got 3 players from last year, Bentley Grooms, Elena Lawson, and Jessie Key. Jessie Key, she had the aggression, right? She's kind of star player. Bentley and Elena, they had to learn that role. And then I want to say yesterday in practice, they're like getting at the rookie as far as I see the transition as far as being leaders. Or before they was kind of timid. Now they got my personality as far as they being leaders and trying to win the game, win the league. So far I see the growth in the players.
So what opportunities do you see for the team in the coming years?
I'm trying to do tours. My next goal is have the Royals go on tours. This year I couldn't do it because time-wise, I could have sent them to Italy for a week in Italy for a women's tour. As far as my overall goal is to get one of my players a trial for the WNBA. and also as far as getting my players contracts overseas. So when our season ends, our season's from June to August. After August, I have 10 players going overseas. That's the end goal.
You keep mentioning overseas and talking about your players going over there. So there's another part of your sports career that I'd just like to talk about for a minute. What inspired you to create Washington Worldwide Sports? And tell our audience a little bit about that.
I had a partnership with, I forget the name, it was a recruiting service. As far as I partner with them, as far as that gives college athletes the opportunity for recruiting. So say if you got a coach or say if you got a school you're interested, most people don't have film, or if they have film, they don't have the right profile to send to them. That's when Washington Worldwide Sports, it comes to effect. Like we help you with the film, we help you with the profile, and it tracks your whole recruiting. I can't say the word. As far as recruiting process, as far as when you reach the coach, you get an email back knowing what the coach said. As far as what's the next step to visit the school. Okay, did you get an offer? Okay, what's the other schools lined up? It keeps it all together.
Can you talk a bit about the mission and the goals of the organization, meaning Washington Worldwide Sports, and what do you hope to achieve for these young athletes? Are you hoping to get them into eventually the NBA, the WNBA, or do you find Europe and some of the other countries a steadier, lucrative market?
To me, I always watch ESPN, and to me, I'm trying to create my own ecosystem, as far as from babies to pros, as far as giving everybody exposure. Like most of the guys I went to Tech with, if we had exposure, mostly everybody went to D1. And to me, it's kind of like hurt my heart in high school. Like I didn't go D1, and then it's like all it took was an email or trying to phone call to somebody. I'm creating an ecosystem as far as getting kids to colleges, getting women overseas, getting men overseas. So as far as watching worldwide sports, I'm trying to make it a network like ESPN to where, say if you're interested in somebody from Indianapolis, you can go to this channel, you can look at all these players.
Yeah, I think Roku has something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk with them now. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So exposure, as you keep saying, is a big part of what you do. How do you help athletes get that visibility they need to earn scholarships, or I don't know, is there still such a thing as walk-ons?
No, that's walking on. I walked on a Purdue Cal. That's how I got my own scholarship there. So as far as walk-ons, basically, there's social media, right? So if I'm a coach, if I say, okay, I'm interested in Tommy from Alabama, then I look at Tommy's social media. If there's crazy stuff on there, I'm not interested. So far as you look at my son's page, Jaden Washington, Jakari Washington, you see nothing but basketball on there. Or if I'm a coach, I know you're serious about basketball. That's all you posting. That's all you showing. So the first thing is social media. Second thing, how you talk to people on the phone. Third thing, how you carry yourself. Fourth thing, what does your academics look like? If you got all F's, can't nobody help you out. But if you have all that in line, then I can have a conversation with you. So as far as putting them all together. So basically, once you talk to one of my players, one of my athletes, you already know what you get before you get them.
So what are some of the strategies you use to make sure these athletes are seen by the right people?
Keep talking. People keep like talking to you right now, because you never know who somebody know. And to me, like what I learned is you'd be surprised the least person you expect to know somebody knows the person you need to meet. As far as I always tell people what you're doing, like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I have this kid over here. Always networking and always putting out there what you're trying to do.
Now, you have a motto and a philosophy, but I want to get to your motto first. Anything you do is everything you do. Can you tell us what that means to you and how it influences your coaching?
Like it says, anything you do is everything you do. So you might treat just one small thing light, but in the end, it's going to mean everything. So the smallest thing is really the biggest thing. And treat every opportunity like a big opportunity. Nothing's too small. No conversation is too small. So treat everything like the NBA Finals, the WNBA Finals, the World Cup. Treat it like that, and every day in practice work like that. Because to me, you never know who's watching. The day you're not working was the day somebody saw you for the first time. And like I tell my sons, you have one time to impress somebody. After that, that's it. So you want that first impression to be the best impression.
How do you help your athletes embrace this philosophy in their daily lives and on the court and off the court?
Put them on the spot every day. When they're not working hard, it's like, why are you here? If you're not going to work hard, what's the point of being here? If you're not winning the championship, what's the point of being on the team? The end goal, you want to be the best. You don't want to be second place. Nobody gets done for being in second place. You always want to go for first place. That's the mission. That's the goal. Go for the top spot. If you don't get it, you know you worked hard to get it. So that's my motto. So anything you do is everything you do. And the biggest thing what I learned now as far as dominate, why not dominate? And then some people say, be humble. I kind of disagree with that because to me, it's like you be humble, it's like you're limiting yourself. To me, you can be like somewhat cocky, like put it out there what you're trying to do. Now you're checking your word. For as I said this, now I have to do it. So if you didn't say it, now you're not chasing that. To me, I'm trying to chase the top, so I would put it out there.
Is there any particular coaching moment that stands out to you as especially memorable or impactful?
I'll say I coached my oldest son. I'll say two times with my oldest son. When I won the middle school championship, my son was 1 year old. He saw me got the trophy. As far as I was holding the trophy, and I had him in my arm. There's the other moment when I had both of my sons. I was their first coach. We won the championship for that league. So now they can always remember, like, okay, I won my first championship with my dad. So that's a proud moment I say with my sons.
Yeah, that's very inspirational there. Very inspirational. Let's see. Looking ahead, what are your plans for the Indianapolis Royals and Washington Worldwide Sports? Is there any exciting new projects on the horizon?
Expansion. If you do it once, you do it twice. You do it twice, you do it 3 times. As far as I'm gonna have more teams in different cities. So as far as now, my biggest goal to have like a whole weekend tournament, all my teams. But next year for the IPWBL, I will have 3 more teams in 3 different cities. Also, I recently just acquired an ABA team called the Indiana Kings. So now I have my men's team starting in November. So I'm doing basketball all year long now. So.
What is that? Anything you do is everything you do?
Correct.
Okay.
How you start, how you finish. So that's how I'm trying. To me, I'm trying to just be an ecosystem. So when you come to Indiana, you can talk to me. I can send you whatever way you're trying to go. So.
Okay. What advice would you give to young athletes aspiring to take their game to the next level and earn scholarships?
Nothing's given. Everything's earned. And when you're not working, somebody's outworking you. And then always appreciate where you at and know where you have to go. And the biggest thing, be honest with yourself. And then if that's your dream, that's your goal, can't nothing stop it. Can't nothing stop you except for you. And the biggest thing is really the mindset. If you think it, you're going to do it. If you don't think, you're not going to do it. And some people, I know from my experience, like in high school and college, like people are telling me I was crazy going to college out of state of Indiana. Why you ain't going in Indiana? I don't want to be with you. I'm trying to grow, be different. The biggest thing is be confident in yourself, trust yourself, and work every day. If you're not working, you're wasting a day. That's the biggest thing I'll tell the young athletes. And as far as if you want to learn how to shoot, just do it every day. Just put the hours in. It's simple. It's not hard. It's simple. And stick to the fundamentals. Everybody do everything else except for the fundamentals. They can run, they can jump, they can flip, they can skip. Biggest thing, can you knock down a mid-range jumper? To me, the biggest thing I learned, if you can knock down a mid-range jumper, can't nobody stop you. You use your right hand, use your left hand, you can rebound, you play defense, you do your footwork, you're a complete basketball player. Coaches will love that. So that's my advice I would tell them.
Coach, I'm kind of perplexed, I guess, is the word I want to use about this Caitlin Clark situation. I look at some of the other stars that came out, especially, one of my favorites is Angel Reese. But has Caitlin Clark become to the NBA, WNBA, what Tiger Woods was to golf?
You said, is she the same that's coming to it? I would say, far as she has star power.
The star power, putting butts in seats, the whole 9 yards. She has a little controversy behind her. All the little pieces together. But it seems that even though we've seen some great players in the WBA, it seems like now we have more people watching women playing since her stint at Iowa and all the hoopla she brought in for the draft in the WBA, NBA.
I would say for her, she had, to me, what makes her different from the other players, she had a spotlight on her the whole time. And as far as you look at in the WNBA, there's great players in the WNBA. They just didn't have that same spotlight. I'm not knocking her skill, but if you put that same spotlight, example like Angela Reese, you put that same spotlight on her, it'd be the same magnitude. But Caitlin Clark, she got the spotlight. It's just I wish they complete with everybody, like be the same. I'm not knocking them the same. Far as now, since you're putting the spotlight on her, you have to change what you do in the WNBA. For example, the rise or the airplane rise. Now they got charter flights. Now she got Wilson. Now the arenas. Now you got to switch your arenas, right? It's stuff they should have been doing, but now it's like they have to do it. They're forced to do it because if not, they look bad. If you get what I'm saying. So now it's like it's a change of the guard. It should have been changed probably 10 years ago, but now it's like you're forced to do it now. So it was a good thing for the WNBA and women's basketball.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap it up?
You can go to our Instagram page, Indianapolis Royals, Facebook, Indianapolis Royals, and this is going to be my new favorite podcast. So,
hey, well, Coach, we're going to make sure that we can get you on as much as we can, especially with the WNBA season. Maybe you can talk to us about some of the different plays and the players and some of the other players that we don't know, as well as I have to. Is the structure of the Royals such as that you can be a kind of farm system toward women making it to the WNBA?
The goal is, I always told Ms. Jordan, the owner of the IPWBL, the goal is to help get this league to be a G League of the WNBA. Because to me, how they do the WNBA, and probably you guys have seen it now when I tell my players, this is what they do. If you didn't know, you have your famous college player, right? They'll draft this player. They'll make all this noise, like, oh, she's doing so great. Then 2 weeks into the season, they get cut. Happens every year. They put out a spotlight. They draft them. They cut this college player, and they bring this overseas player. Instead of just bringing the overseas player and just leave this college player alone, they get, like I said, butts in the seats, make it interesting, right? Then they cut them. It happens every year. That's the one part of WNBA I don't like. As far as if you're going to keep them. If you're going to cut them. And now they're doing expansions and more teams. That should have been happened 10 years ago. So my thing, if you pay attention, it's the same thing. But now it's like the spotlight's on them now as far as now you got to be serious with women's basketball. You can't play around with it. So I would say as long as they keep building, I like it.
Well, I'm going to turn you over to our panel here for a few moments, if you don't mind, Coach.
No, that's fine.
Let's see. Let's start with Mr. Carroll. Mr. Carroll, you have some questions for?
I have a couple. First one is, now I've seen Joliet Junior College play a few times. I live in Chicago. I work in Maywood. I've been to Joliet a few times. I've watched the team play. When you were playing at JCC and then later at Purdue Calumet, who are the best players, in your opinion, that you ever faced or played with?
Man, I ain't gonna lie, I had to sit out because eligibility. It was me and this guy, Reggie Rock. I forgot Reggie's last name. He's from California. He was 5'10". He dribbled like Baron Davis, jumped like Michael Jordan, and can shoot like Reggie Miller. And my other guy, called him Dave from Gary. He could jump like Michael Jordan. There's a couple of good guys there. As far as we had a whole team, as far as the whole structure. As far as I think I was the shortest one. Everybody else was probably 6'2" or taller. We probably had like 14 guys from top to bottom that could really play.
And my next question has to do with the schedule. So obviously, like I said, I live in Chicago. The Chicago Breeze are
Yeah.
the IBWPL's Midwest region representative here. I know there's a franchise in Rockford. You've got the Wolves and Royals in Indianapolis. The Glow are out of, I think, Oshkosh.
Correct. Wisconsin, correct.
Okay. St. Louis Rebels and Austin Trailblazers. And then Kansas City. I don't know what the Kansas City franchise is called.
The crossover. I can name all the teams for it. Midwest.
Okay, there we go.
Us, the Wolves, Chicago Breeze,
right?
St. Louis Rebels,
Yeah.
Rockford Lightning. I missed somebody. It's a South Bend town thing. Lady Magic, they just joined.
Okay.
I said Wisconsin Glow. In the South, you got the Austin Trailblazers, Dallas Twisters, San Antonio Surge. Who am I forgetting? They switched their name. It was Mississippi, the Lady Phoenix. I think it's one more team. So altogether, it's about 12 to 13 teams.
So
that one in San Antonio there, Don.
There you go, Don. So
I know,
two questions about that.
They got my interest.
Two questions about that. You mentioned sort of like almost like barnstorming. Will you do some exhibitions against, college teams, against whoever to sort of build up the excitement? And then two, where can you buy gear?
Gear for us, we have it on our social media site, and gear for the league. I want to say I think majority she put them this week or next week at a conference call today. And then far as this year now, because I talked to majority, been talking crazy about Midwest wants to play the South. It's finally done. So for now, it's the Midwest champions will play the Down South champions for the national championship.
Excellent.
And that will be in Rockford, Illinois this year.
Oh, Rockford. Okay. Not too far from me. Yeah, excellent.
And then the schedule for the Midwest is on the site now, the IPW. You go to Ladies First Sports Agency, go to the tab to the right, click on IPWBL, and the schedule will be pop up on there.
Got it. Excellent. So my final question, what we've now seen, I grew up in Virginia, and I got to see Nancy Lieberman play 45 or so years ago, probably the first time I saw Ing Nissen, Rhonda Rumpola, Janet Tremblay, Angela Kottman. Just a tremendous, like an all-star team, basically, right? Almost, I think 7 of the women on the 12 on the roster played in somebody's Olympics for some team. I think Janet Tremblay played for Canada, Ing Nissen played for Denmark, Rhonda Rumpola and Nancy Lieberman and Angela Kottman played for the United States. But getting to my question, finding the talent, bringing the talent in. Are people just sending you their stuff? Are you going out and watching college teams and teams overseas? How are you locating the talent?
As far as me, I put the word out there. As far as this year, I kind of did like referral system. We had a tryout. As far as I had different players, and some of the players I wanted, they already had a contract. It's too late. They had a contract. As soon as they graduate, it's already gone. What I'm learning now, as far as the top seniors in college, by the time they graduate in May, when we have our tryouts, they already talked to the overseas team. So as soon as they get done graduate, they already gone.
Right. Got it. Well, thank you. Also, shout out to my friend Tiffany Johnson, who played basketball overseas. But yes, thank you so much.
All right, no problem.
Don.
Yes.
A couple questions or comments for Coach Washington?
Well, yeah, so you kind of got my interest. We were talking about San Antonio. You said the team's called the Surge?
Yep. The team, my favorite team down there is Austin Trailblazers. Shout out Mika. But it's the San Antonio Surge. So you got the San
Where do they play
Antonio
their games,
Surge.
do you know?
Say it again.
Do you know where they play their games? Which arena?
I can find that out. We have a conference call tonight because everybody's sitting in their locations. I can find out tonight.
Okay.
But if you look on the website, she might have put the South region up. I know for sure the West. I know, but I can find out though.
I might have to buy some Surge gear. So now the rules or eligibility, they have to play college, or y'all have kids that go straight from high school?
You have to be 20 and up.
Okay,
So
okay,
20 and up.
all right.
Yeah.
And how many of y'all's players in your league have actually made it to the WNBA?
We have a whole bunch that play overseas. Actually, the Austin Trailblazers, the Mika is a player / owner / commissioner. She played in the WNBA.
Okay.
Mika Singleton. So
Cool.
she played in the WNBA. That's the goal for us, get them there overseas to the WNBA. So I'm trying to talk to the Fevers like, hey, I need somebody, come talk to me. So
Yeah, I'm glad you're on the show tonight. The school I work at we had a girl graduated 2 years ago, a little point guard, 5'7", 5'8", and she was she's the all-time leading scorer for our school, and I mean she's a little baller, but she never got any attention from colleges. She's Hispanic. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but not a whole lot of Hispanic females balling like that. But
yeah.
I would like to maybe send her y'all's way to see if y'all can work with her.
How old is she now?
She's not going to college. She's 19. She graduated last year, so she'll be 20. But she can get off to go to college anywhere, and I think she just plays pickup games now. So I'm gonna have to send her y'all's way.
Yeah, you can send it to our Instagram page and send her information. I can send it to Ms. Jordan, and then we can go from there.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Dave.
Hey, Coach Washington.
Hey,
all right. So just a couple questions. One is with the Washington Worldwide Sports for like young athletes that are seeking exposure. What sports do you support?
I focus on basketball, but I can do all.
Okay. And then have you done some other sports, or is it just right now just open to any other sports, or have you actually worked with some athletes in other sports?
Now, my focus is basketball. For it's all the same setup for us doing the process, so I can walk with all sports. And now I'm going to say, if you guys didn't know, college is about to add flag football as a sport.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about wrestling. I was at the Big Ten wrestling tournament, and I know Indiana actually has some pretty good wrestling over there.
Yeah,
and that's and wrestling is growing both for men and women in college.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And then the other question I had is, it sounds like you've really gotten immersed with the Royals. How do you balance between Washington Worldwide Sports and the Royals? How do you balance?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but as far as the Royals is always my top priority, and as far as in the Washington Worldwide Sports, I'm filtering that in. So as far as when I talk about the Royals, 9 times out of 10, somebody Washington Worldwide Sports comes in there, so they go like hand in hand. So example, say if I go to this networking event, I'm talking about the Royals, somebody asks, well, do you work with children? Then I throw the Washington Worldwide Sports in there. So far as somehow, some way, it always ties in. So when I work with the Royals, the Washington Worldwide Sports comes in with it.
Okay. And then with the Worldwide Sports, are you looking at a national base, or you kind of focus regionally with that?
National. So basically, I'm trying to start here in Indiana and build out. As far as the recruiting process, I can work with anybody. As far as making like the network part, trying to make it national.
Okay.
So
and are you working? And do you work directly with the players, or you networked with the coaches?
So I can work with players, I can work with coaches, I can work with ADs. So I'll give you an example. So say if you're an athletic director, right? You need help with recruiting. I can do recruiting seminars. As far as say if you sign up with Washington Worldwide Sports, you get access for your whole program. So say you're AD, right? You have 10 sports. So far as when you work with me, I can help all sports in your program. So far everybody will get that service.
All right, very cool. Actually, that sounds like a lot of fun. You know, especially when you see the players get scholarships or you get teams and then see their career progress. But I'm really encouraged. It really sounds like you've built on your experience, and you've built off of the game that you obviously love, and are making a living out of it. I really admire that.
Appreciate that.
Coach, we're going to have to get you on maybe with a couple of your players also.
I can get all of them. Which ones you want? I'll give you a list.
Send it to me. Send it to me.
I got practice tomorrow. We can do it 8:30 tomorrow if you want to.
Yeah, send me a list. Maybe we can get you and a couple of your players. Some of your coaches. Some of the people behind the bench. Your sports trainers. We're open. This is the Sports Krib. We do it all. Don. There's a high school coach himself. Dave follows the Steelers. He even went to Buffalo in the cold to follow the Steelers. So, as you can see, we're the Steelers guy here. Bill's also a Steeler guy, but he lives in Chicago. We can't wear it in the daytime. But, but Coach, we appreciate your time, and I look forward to having you back again.
No problem. I appreciate you all.
All right. Godspeed.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for the insights.
Yeah.
The timing is great because just as the interest in the women's game is peaking, he's rolling this stuff out.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get somebody in, as many weeks as we can, talk about the different sports. I think Don was I have to give him credit. Our first guest, I know he wanted to go into Cribbing After Dark right away. He wasn't up too much with that soft coaching attitude, but but. Hey, everybody, different strokes for different folks. But hey, guys, let's get to the show here. And it seems like things are really moving ahead with the NBA as well as the moves that we're making here in the draft and free agencies. So things are really moving up here. So I think I'm going to start with you here, Dave. Because I do want to talk a little bit about baseball, even though Reggie isn't here. What did you guys think about the retirement of Angel Hernandez? Dave, Mr. Hernandez has been pretty controversial. He's been here, about 33, 34 years, something like that?
He should have been gone a long time ago. It's ridiculous. I mean, there have been articles about him for years, going back as far as 1998. And he's still gotten to umpire in World Series games and so forth. He did have a 2017 lawsuit, which he lost because he was claiming racial discrimination, that they didn't give him a World Series bid. And it's like, the guy stinks. He's averaging, I think 2 years ago, I saw a statistic. He was making 19 missed calls a game. It's ridiculous. So I think for me, he should have been gone a long time ago. He's probably a really nice guy, and he probably does a lot of charitable works, and maybe he should focus on that. But he doesn't belong in Major League Baseball as an umpire, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm kind of doubting that nice guy there you got there. Dave, but okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know him personally. I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. He just may be incompetent, and that's
okay.
Hey, I mean, you're talking about being an official at the highest level of that profession of
for 33 years.
Right, and I don't understand how he lasted that long.
Don, do
Yes.
the Astros and the Rangers love Mr. Hernandez?
In all these years, I can't remember him. I'm sure he umpired probably hundreds of their games. I just can't remember an incident where there was any controversy in the games he called. I could be wrong. Like I said, that's a lot of baseball, and I don't, follow baseball on a day-to-day basis. But I have heard of Angel Hernandez because there has been some incidences, I believe. I don't know if I told you all this. Maybe I did. Maybe you didn't. I've been on this show for a while, but I went to high school with Cito Gaston's daughter, Denise.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I'm sure I've heard of Cito Gaston, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
But Denise would tell me stuff, things that went on the baseball fields and dugouts. I actually got to meet Mr. Gaston a few times, but just the stories, just amazing stuff. And I've also used to live down the street from a guy named Cliff Johnson who played for the Yankees back in the 70s. To this day, Cliff Johnson has the biggest hands I've ever shaken. I mean, they're just huge. But he told me stories, but specifically I never heard an Angel Hernandez story. I've heard some Billy Martin stories. Billy Martin stories are good stories, by the way. But,
yeah. I've heard a few good Billy Martin stories myself, third and fourth hand. Bill, what do you think about Angel?
So, Angel Hernandez broke in almost exactly 33 years ago. I think it was May the 23rd of 1991. And I would say the things that certainly stand out about him, I mean, if we can overlook everything else, he was a guy that sort of broke in with sort of that almost like movie star good looks, right? It was something he was talked about early in his career. But by the time he'd been in the league for about 10 or 12 years, he had developed a reputation. And there, as we mentioned, there have been studies done, articles written, surveys done. He's been in the bottom 3 or 4 amongst surveys done amongst major leaguers, amongst umpires. Even he got the top spot or bottom spot one year even. He's been a crew chief on big games. Very famously, Steve Mongo McMichael threatened him after a missed call where he was the guest singer of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. He's been involved in a variety of controversies beginning about 7 years into his career. And every couple of years, it seemed like there'd be something else with Angel Hernandez, right? There was an incident with the Michael Tucker missed call. There was an incident with Mariano Duncan got ejected after arguing a call. And then
the stands.
Hernandez tossed Mariano Rivera's cap into the stands after he'd taken his cap off. There was an incident where he was working a Cleveland Indians game, and Bob Melvin ended up getting ejected over what ended up being a pretty egregiously missed call. Ian Kinsler ended up getting fined when he said, and I'm going to quote, Hernandez needs to find another job. That cost him $10,000. He got into it. I mean, like every couple of years from about 1998 forward. First 7 years, pretty quiet. But then from 98 forward, every couple of years, there was something with somebody and Angel Hernandez. CC Sabathia got into him once. Here's what I will say. I believe that he's a little thin-skinned. I think my main complaint is he the worst? He's bad. I think he's had some bad games and he's had some really poorly timed bad calls. If I had to say, he's probably the umpire I've seen who has the most bad calls at the worst time. In terms of a study was done by Boston University, he's not the worst, but he's bad. They did a long-term study and discovered that, yes, he was bad. And he averaged about 19 missed calls. I think somebody mentioned about 19 missed calls per game, which is bad. It's not the worst, though. There are people who miss even more than that. The average, however, is significantly less than that. So he's definitely worse than average. But my main issue with him is just how sort of rabbit-eared and thin-skinned he was. Whether you think you're great and you're not great, or you think you're bad and you're bad, or whatever it is, you have to be able to let a certain amount of stuff roll off your back, or you just can't be an effective umpire. You're going to get yelled at. You're going to get booed. People are going to call you literally every single thing that you can imagine, and some things you could never imagine being called. But if you hear all of it and react to all of it, that brings more of it your way, right? That doesn't make people stop. That makes them think, oh, that got a rise out of him. So
let's try something else.
Yeah, right. He'll be remembered. I can tell you that much. If you want something to end up there, I promise you, he'll be remembered.
He'll definitely be remembered.
Hey,
Bill,
go
ahead.
I have a question. I have a question for Bill because Bill will know the answer. So several years ago, there was a bad call to baseball game, and the organist started playing Three Blind Mice.
Oh,
And they ejected the organist. Was that Angel Hernandez?
I think it was. I think it was here.
Out of the ballpark,
and I think it was here. I think it was a Wrigley Field game. I think it was a game in Chicago.
Well,
So there was
Michael did get
I can't remember who was playing.
Whenever McMichael made his announcement.
Yeah, right. Mongo got ejected. Yes, that is correct also. But there was a woman, I think it was a woman organist too, on top of it, Don. What was her name? She was the organist for a long time, too, like, once again, 30-something years. What was her name? Like, I keep thinking it was a classically Irish name, like Rosemary McGillicuddy. I'm exaggerating slightly, but something like that. And she's this sweet older lady, but she was a little spicy. And so every once in a while, she would bust out something like that, right? She would come up with something a little humorous. And frankly, most of them let it roll off their backs, right? But I think it was Angel Hernandez. But I don't think he was a crew chief. I think somebody else was the crew chief. So the ejection wasn't, I mean, it might have been at his urging, but he wasn't the one who made the ejection. I believe it was actually someone else who made the ejection because he wasn't the crew chief that day.
That's amazing. Bill, Hall of Famer Bill Walton
awesome.
passed away at the age of 71.
Far too young, far too early.
Well, you can start off the discussion, and then we'll go to Dave.
Yeah, well, his name doesn't come up enough as a player, how great a player he was. He's one of the 10 greatest college basketball players of all time, and if you want to argue with me, you're wrong. I mean, there wasn't anything young, healthy Bill Walton couldn't do on a basketball court. He was one of the first 6'11" guys to. I mean, he didn't do it often because Wooden would bench him, but he could bring the ball up. He was a very fine ball handler. He was a terrific passer. He could shoot. He had an off-the-charts high basketball IQ, and before his lower body broke in half, basically, he was a tremendously athletic big man. At 6'11" and 236 pounds, he was one of the fastest players on the team at UCLA. Out of Helix High School, right? The Mount Helix, as he was sometimes called, the same high school that gave us, amongst other people, Reggie Bush and Alex Smith. But, a San Diego area kid, as I'm sure you're aware of already. And, one of the most hotly recruited players of his era. But, I mean, no offense, nobody had a shot, right? Once he met Wooden, it was all over. Guy Lewis and others still threw their hat in the ring, but nobody had a shot. Nobody had a shot at him. It was all over. And he loved Wooden. He also tested Wooden, but he loved him. Because obviously Wooden was a gentle but stern disciplinarian, and Bill Walton was quite the free spirit. And he challenged not every rule that Coach Wooden had, but many of them. He challenged many of them. He was anti-war. He kept it mostly to himself. He was anti-Vietnam War and wanted to join student protests on campus UCLA, and Wooden basically forbade it. He would occasionally, talk about it, but not often or much or loudly. You might occasionally see a little button or something, but he would never wear it while in uniform. He would only wear his little anti-war buttons while he was, in his own clothes. He managed to take, I would say, maybe the second least talented roster to ever win a championship. I think it's one of the least talented all around that I've ever seen win a championship. And he carried that team largely. And it was the last sort of great moment of him as a player. He still managed to have a career for about another decade after that. Was never anything close to the same kind of player. And it saddens me. Well, I mean, one, we lost him so young, but it really saddens me that most people didn't see what an amazing basketball player he was. All the things that we say about so many of these younger big men, William Theodore Walton III was a lot of those same things. Like I said, a passer, a shooter, a playmaker. And I just wish he had more healthy seasons, because he was on his way to being one of the true greats. If you saw his career, in the early days, right? You really see him beginning to become something. And you look at the 75, 76, 76, 77, and 77, 78 years, and the trajectory is going up and up and up and up and up. He's getting better in every way. He is, finishing number 2, then number 2, and then finally number 1 in the MVP voting. And then the first big injury comes the next year in 78, 79. Comes back and has a decent year after being, I think, traded. Once again, I think to his hometown team. Was it not Conquistadors? What were they called then? The San Diego franchise in those days. Were they the Conquistadors? Whatever they were called. No, they were the Clippers, right? The Clippers were in San Diego for a minute, right? I guess
Clippers were in San Diego, yes.
Yeah, they were in, that's right. It was the Clippers. He has an okay year, and then he gets hurt again. And guess what? Then he gets hurt again. He misses 3 total complete seasons, and then comes back and is a good player, but he's never a truly transcendent great player ever again. And I would just urge anybody, and thanks to YouTube, you can go back and watch what he was in college, right? I mean, I think they lost a game in his college career or something crazy. I mean, it's nuts. His college career he had is crazy. And the only reason he's not a 4-time All-American is because no freshman eligibility. So he's, like I said, he's one of the 10 greatest college basketball players of all time. And if you don't believe me, argue with your cat. But I would just urge anyone who only knows him as sort of a wacky, announcer or whatever, please go back and watch his amazing collegiate career in the first few years of his pro career with Portland, and especially that transcendently beautiful season he has, because he could have scored many more points than he did that year, but he was such a good passer that he created.
Well, let's get Dave in
yes,
there.
Yes, let's do that. Yes.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I think Bill has covered it pretty thoroughly. Just a couple things. One thing that I learned that I wasn't aware of is that he played with his brother in high school, his older brother, I think it was Bruce, and who played for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
And so Bill Walton and his brother are the only brothers that have played in a Super Bowl and an NBA championship game. So I thought that was pretty unique. Where Bill was talking about Bill Walton's relationship with John Wooten, that was a pretty special relationship. And he did test Wooten's patience to the point of where Wooten was very conservative, didn't want anybody protesting or acting out during that period. And actually, Walton did spend a night in jail, and Wooten had to come and bail him out. But Walton was very appreciative, and he developed a friendship with Wooten throughout his life, and he was trying to make up to him because Walton knew that he was a free spirit, and he knew that he had tested Wooten's patience. And as Bill mentioned, such a great player. And if it wasn't for the injuries, which he started suffering early in his career, even in college, he was having problems with his foot and his leg. And if it wasn't for those injuries holding him back, I mean, he would be even as great as he is now. He would be even greater if he had been fully healthy. But I think we lost a great one in Bill Walton.
What'd you think, Don?
Yeah, so Bill Walton's one of those guys that was coming on, I guess, right before the NBA exploded with Magic and Bird came around. But he was like in that generation right before them, right, on the cusp of it. And I say generation, I'm talking about 5 or 6 years. But anyway, what I remember about him, he always had that headband on, and I read an article in Sports Illustrated because I used to subscribe to that magazine for decades. But that in the off season, he got in the car and he traveled around to follow the Grateful Dead. And I know, James, you're out in California. You're familiar with the Grateful Dead and the Deadheads and smoking that weed stuff. And so, yeah, definitely free spirit. I just see him and Wooden clash. I think Wooden was a World War II vet, wasn't he in the Navy or something like that, the greatest generation? And then you have this hippie kid coming out playing basketball for him. But you know what? Sometimes opposites attract. They meshed well, apparently. So they had mutual respect. But I just remember him. I remember him being a commentator for NBA, and he would say some stuff that I was like, did he just say that? I mean, he was he was tone deaf a lot of times about certain players and situations, but like I said, he was a great one. He was part of that UCLA dynasty they had. So he'll be missed.
Yeah. Yes, he will. Don, we still haven't had a winner between the Mavericks and the Timberwolves, although they are up 3-1. The Celtics are sitting back and waiting. I believe the first game of the finals now will be Sunday. Don, when we come on the air next week, let's see, I think they'll play a game Sunday, and then I think the next game is Wednesday, if not Tuesday. But anyway, when we come on the air next week, who will be ahead in the series? The Celtics, or I'm going to say the Mavericks, but Mr. Scott might think that the Timberwolves are coming back.
Yeah, it's funny we're talking about the Celtics, and on the tail end of our discussion about Bill Walton, Celtics are taking care of business, but I'm like you, that the Mavericks to me are just probably a shade better. So I'm going to say probably Dallas will have the edge, assuming that the Timberwolves don't make some kind of miraculous comeback. And just so you know, next week I won't be here. I'm going to be in Orlando with my son doing Orlando things. So, but we'll talk about when I get back. We'll talk about the series and how that went.
All right. Yeah. Bill, who's going to be ahead, the Celtics or the Mavericks next week? Or
I'm going to agree, believe it or not, with your assessment. I just don't trust the Celtics. They are better than the last time that they got to this situation. I think they're a stronger, better, more balanced team. I still don't quite trust them yet. I could be proven wrong, and I always root for people to prove me wrong when I doubt them. So hopefully they will, make me eat my words. But at this point, I feel like when pressure is applied by elite teams to this team, to the Celtics, I don't know if they'll bear up under it as well as Dallas bears up under that same kind of pressure when an elite team starts to lean into them.
Mavericks in 6. What do you, Dave? Excuse me. Who do you think?
You know, I don't really follow it, but I guess the Timberwolves are down 3-1. I guess we'll find out tomorrow night. You know, that could clinch it right there. Or hey, other teams have come back from 3-0. So you know, let's see what happens through the weekend. But you know, it could be decided as early as tomorrow night.
Teams that have went down 3-0, I believe, are 0-190.
Is that right in the NBA?
Yes, if any team that's
Wow.
went, it's way up there, way up there. All right, guys, let's talk a little NFL. It's 99 days to kick off, 99 bottles of beer. Okay, anyway. So here are the top 10 most complete. Now, notice what I said, the top 10 most complete teams for the 2024 season, according to NFL.com staff writer Eric Edholm. So, you guys tell me whether or not you agree or disagree with this list. Number 1, the 49ers. Number 2, the Ratbirds. Number 3, the Chiefs. Number 4, the Lions. Well, I know Demetrius would have a fit having the Lions all the way down here. Number 5, the Eagles. Number 6, the Bungles, even though they seem to be missing their wide receiving core. Number 7, the Texans. Just gave Nico the bag. Number 8, the Packers. Number 9, the Clowns. And number 10, the Jets. I already disagree with at least 9, 10, and 6. But what do you think there, Bill? How would you put these over? Additions?
I'd probably have the Packers slightly higher. I think people are still kind of sleeping on the Packers. They're going to be they'll be a tough out. That's going to be a tough team to deal with. Having the Rams nowhere on the list is probably a mistake. I slept on the Rams last year. I'm not going to make the mistake twice. That team is better than people think also. I don't know if the Jets are as good as people think. I know they've got Aaron Charles Rodgers on the team, but their offensive line, though improved, is still not proven anything to anyone. I like their defense. I like their wide receiver group. And, a healthy Breece Hall means they should have decent offensive balance between run and pass. But he also will be affected by the play of the offensive line, which I'm still not particularly sold on. I don't know if I buy them being a top 10 team. The Texans might be about right. I'm not sure about Cincinnati. I feel like their window is closing, and the Bills being nowhere in the top 10. I mean, I feel like, how are they not as good as the Jets? That's what I'm trying to wrap my brain around. They lost some players in free agency, which they knew was going to happen. All right. I mean, but still what's left of that team, if they played the Jets 10 times, I feel like would beat the Jets at least 6 times out of 10. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't quite buy the Jets to that level yet. And I still think there's a little life left in the Bills. I think the Bengals are a top 12 team. I don't know if they're a top 10 team. Like I said, I think I would probably move the Packers up slightly higher. And then another team that I think we're sort of sleeping on, if the Colts get even average quarterback play from whoever is starting at quarterback, they're good every place else. They are solid top to bottom. Look at that roster, people. Quarterback play is the only thing holding them back. If they get, let's say, top 16 quarterback play, that's a team that should win 11 games. So that's the other team that I think I might move into the top 10, maybe rushing them right around that 9 or 10.
Don, what do you think about that list?
Well, I agree with number one. I like the 49ers where you have them. I would move the Chiefs up one spot and switch them out with the Ravens. I agree with Bill. The Jets don't belong on that list. I think that's just that's wishful thinking. They think that Aaron Rodgers is going to come out and miraculously come off that 1 year hiatus as a 41-year-old quarterback with no mobility. I don't know why people even would mention the Jets in the top 10. I don't get it. Benjamin Franklin had a quote said, "He who lives on hope dies farting," and I think that's kind of like what happened to the Jets there. But the rest of the teams I have no problem with. I would say Detroit. Detroit would be in the top 5, of course, just because they should have beaten San Francisco last year, and their coach blew it. But too bad we don't have Demetrius to talk about that. But I think, other than moving the Chiefs up one spot and kicking the Jets out, I have no beef with that. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the Texans. I think Texans are about to displace the Cowboys as the top team in Texas.
Well, the Cowboys aren't on that list if you look, Don.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Dave, I got a problem. You got 3 AFC North teams in there, but not us.
Well, actually, that's one of the things is that I think it demonstrates how strong the AFC North is, because Pittsburgh's roster is not bad. I think, maybe, this is talking about not the 10 best teams. It's talking about the 10 most complete teams.
Right.
And so, like with the Steelers, now that they're transitioning to Arthur Smith's offense, they traded away Deontay Johnson. He wasn't replaced. So you could say they have a hole at wide receiver. They have a hole at slot cornerback. The defensive line is starting to get a little older with Cam Hayward and Ogunjobi. So I don't mind, actually, that the Steelers aren't on the list, because I recognize that they still have some areas that they got to strengthen. It's just, to me, it's impressive that the AFC North has 3 teams on there. Although in the case of the Bengals, I'm not sold on their defense. On the case of the Browns, it's their quarterback. What is their quarterback shown since he got that huge bag of money? He hasn't done anything. And so until he shows something,
he's shown he knows how to spend it.
Yeah, there's that. But I mean, to me, that's kind of, until that's proven, that's a hole. And quarterback is the same thing that I would say with the Jets, because, even if Aaron Rodgers, or Ayahuasca, as you like to call him, if he comes back, yeah, he's proven, but he's coming off of a significant injury. So how they can say that that's a complete team, I would probably have the Bills up in this top 10 as a complete team. Actually, the Dolphins, because their defense, although they gave up a lot of points, their pass defense and their rush defense was not bad. And they've taken some steps to improve that. So the Dolphins are a maybe. And I think Don or Bill mentioned the Colts. So, and then the other division, NFC North, the Lions and the Packers. The AFC North and the NFC North are the only 2 divisions that had more than 1 team in this top 10, which I found interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, the Jets. Truly, and Joe Burrows, I mean, like I said, we don't even know who he's going to be throwing to.
Right.
So, we I'm going to stay with you here, Dave. 49ers wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, he's eyeing a St. Brown type deal. St. Brown got 4 years, $120 million, $77 million guaranteed. Ayuk led the 49ers in catches and receiving yards, Dave. Is this to be or not to be?
Well, it's a could be, and the reason why I say it could be is that the wide receiver position hasn't peaked in terms of its value. It's not like the running back position, which has been tanking in value, and the wide receiver group seems to be still going up in value. And right now, the most valuable contracts I think average about 30 million a year. There's Tyreek Hill and the St. Brown. So it could be that IU could benefit just simply because he's the next guy up, and San Francisco is they've indicated that they want to keep him, and so I think it's a could be.
Okay. What do you think there, Don?
Oh, he's definitely worth keeping on the squad, and definitely needs to be paid the big money. I think it's a good move.
What do you think, Bill?
About Brandon Ayuk, I mean, he's going to get paid somewhere in the neighborhood of, I mean, less than Justin Jefferson's going to get, but he's going to get somewhere probably in that neighborhood of what Amon-Ra St. Brown got. I mean, that's going to be what the not Justin Jefferson wide receivers get.
And they may be waiting to see. They may be playing a waiting game to see who's going to set the market.
Yep.
Yeah, it does seem to be like that. So, Giants quarterback Daniel Jones says he'll be ready for game 1 against the Vikings. Jones says he wasn't too keen about the team looking at drafting another quarterback. Bill, do you think Jones will be the Giants quarterback in week 8?
Well, I guess that depends on people's health. But I think that he most likely will be. I think he gets to finish the year starting more games than any other quarterback on their roster. But I also think they're going to turn the page on him as soon as it's financially feasible to do so, which I think is at the end of this upcoming season. I have to look at the structure of his contract again. But unless he, does what we've seen a few guys like Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield do, where you have this remarkable bounce back, turnaround, it's not impossible, while it is unlikely. So my guess is that I believe he will start that game and probably most of the games, the vast majority of the games this season. But as soon as they can get out from under his contract, I believe they're going to move on.
What do you think there, Dave?
They got 6 quarterbacks on their roster currently, which is pretty crazy to me. But if not Daniel Jones, then who? Do you go with Drew Lock? Do you go back to Tommy DeVito, who played some for them last year?
What if they're 2-6, Dave?
Yeah, but do these guys, maybe Drew Lock?
Right.
I mean, what do you do?
So
I mean,
the point is that if you go with someone else, you might not get the 2 wins.
Right. Well, that might be where you plateau is with those 2 wins if you go to another quarterback, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not impressed by the William Thompson, Nathan Rourke, and Jacob. What's his name? I can't think of it, but I don't even know those guys. Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock. I mean, does he really have a viable backup with an upside? Like Drew Lock is a viable backup, but does he really have that upside? Maybe.
What do you think, Don?
I think Jones will be the quarterback. I mean, barring injury, I don't see anyone on the roster that's going to be stepping up. But I think I think Jones is in a great position, and I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. This is his chance to show, hey, this is what I can do. Fresh season. He's not an old guy at all. I think he still has plenty of upside, and I've said that before. I just think that this is the season where he can say, hey, I'm going to show you what I can do. I'm going to show you that that they weren't wrong for signing me to the contract. So I'm not saying they're going to be game breakers or game breakers, but they may not. They're still going to be the weakest team in that conference. I'm just saying, I think he has a chance to show what he can do, showcase his talent. So I think he'll be the quarterback.
Yeah. I think they split with Washington, and I don't know what they do after that. But that's why I said it.
Well, they'll probably still win from the Cowboys. Cowboys will choke.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Are they playing in December?
Yeah, Jerry's listening, Don. I just want you to know that. Okay. All right. So let's stay with you here, Don. Ayahuasca says, if I'm on the field and playing like I'm capable of, we always have a chance. But Don, do we know what he's capable of, or is it what he's used to be capable of? We haven't seen him in a year, right?
Yeah, I alluded to that earlier. He's come back from that injury, which is kind of hard anyway. It's hard to come back from that type of injury when you're like 21, and definitely not when you're 41. So, hasn't played in a year. I mean, I think he should revisit the idea of being RFK Jr.'s vice presidential candidate. I think he might.
He dropped out the race, Don. He can't. So that's out. There's no more second career there. RFK's out. The party elected. The party went with somebody else.
Well, I know, but I thought RFK was going independent.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he has that much money left. I heard he had dropped out, but
Oh well.
Hey.
Well, then maybe Rogers can run for president then.
There you go. Well, what do you think here, Dave? Are we going on? Do we know what he's capable of, or are we talking about what he used to be capable of?
I tend to look at what he used to be capable of. And I saw him on an interview with Tucker Carlson. They had a long form interview, about 2 hours long. And he actually used kind of the past tense when he was talking about his football career. But he did say that he loved it. He wants to keep playing. But he didn't sound all in, if you know what I mean. The other interesting thing is I also saw Danica Patrick on a Tucker Carlson interview, and she related. This is related to Aaron Rodgers for COVID. Whenever the pandemic broke out in 2020, she was in Peru, and what was she doing in Peru? Well, she was with some shamans and another couple having ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers. And Danica Patrick said, the race car driver, she said that in the middle of their trip, the pilot burst in and says, we got to go. They're closing the border at 10 o'clock. And they had to fly off on an airplane while they were still high on ayahuasca, which I just found interesting. So, I don't know if that's going to help him with his recovery, but I saw, the film of him passing in that one stadium, a couple months after his injury, which impressed everybody. But it's one thing to be standing there passing. It's a whole other thing to be moving around with 300-pound defensive linemen barreling down on you. So I don't know. I think it's what he used to be, not what he is.
Bill, what do you think?
Well, we've had Ben Franklin quoted on the show, so I guess to sort of balance it out, I'm going to quote Sean Daly, aka Slug, of the Minneapolis-based hip-hop group Atmosphere. I think it's great that you used to be great. The fact is that I have defended at various points in the past, at least, Aaron Charles Rodgers until I could no longer defend him. There comes a point where if somebody keeps telling you who they are, you believe them. He's a lot of things, but most of what he is he's extremely interested in Aaron Charles Rodgers. And this is, for him, a great adventure, right? He's going on this adventure. He's experiencing things. He's testing his limits, blah, blah, blah. And at times, it still results probably in some great football. And at times, it will result in things that are not particularly great in a football environment. I don't know what kind of teammate he is now at this point, but I get the feeling like most of his teammates, who are somewhere between 55 and 49% of his age, if my math is right, are probably looking at him like a guy like, I used to play as you on Madden, right? So they have a different view of him than his teammates used to 10, 12, 15 years ago, where he was, though a quarterback, at least somewhat of a peer. He's now seen as something slightly different by most of his teammates. And it's almost understandable. It's almost like being, you're a 23, 24-year-old, and Babe Ruth comes back, right, to play with you one last year or whatever it is. And yeah, it's like, wow, like you spend the whole time kind of looking at him like, I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm, putting on my jockstrap next to this guy. So
didn't Babe Ruth have a home run in his last at bat?
And we might just get a touchdown pass in Charles Rodgers' last game too. But despite that, if you saw Ruth try to play in the outfield in that last year, it wasn't exactly art. So while I think we'll see some great moments, just because he's so damn talented, I don't know if he'll be able to be consistent, right? That's the thing about getting older. All of us here were at least somewhat athletes at some point. And when you get to a certain point, even if it's just recreationally, and you think, yeah, I'm going to go do such and such, right? I'm going to hurdle that fence that I hurdled 1,000 times before when I was younger. And then as you are building up speed, that little baby doubt in the back of your mind says, uh-oh, I don't know if I can still do this, right? But our only thing on the line for us is like our pride and possibly, landing on our face. He literally has, well, one, his legacy, but also, as someone pointed out, his physical health and well-being on the line. I think we will see, like I said, occasional greatness, some mixed in with some mediocrity, and some moments of him looking much older than we remembered him looking before. That's what I think we'll see.
Okay. Bill, I'm going to start with you on this one. Certain quarterback has come into training camp, and this year, last year he gained weight. This year he's losing weight, saying that he needs more agility. But his offensive coordinator, Ted Monken, says that he wants Derrick Henry to be his closer. And he wants the running back to carry the ball over 300 times. Your thoughts on this, Bill?
Okay, so here's what's going to actually happen. Now, Derrick Henry is a physical marvel, and he probably still will dominate the carries. And what I think we'll see happen is in the stretch run late in the season, we will see Henry do what he does, right? Put games on ice, put things away. But zone read option means that the ball goes where the defense makes the ball go. So, I mean, it's a classic pick your poison situation. Do you commit to stopping Derrick Henry, or do you say, I don't know if Lamar still wants to run the ball like he used to. Lamar, early in his career, maybe not quite Michael Vick, was one of the 2 or 3 most exciting, up there certainly with Randall Cunningham and Colin Kaepernick, amongst the most exciting runners we'd see at the quarterback position. And then he hasn't been quite that recently, whether it was gaining weight, whether it was just his agent saying, would you like to be a great quarterback for 5 or 6 years or 15 or 16 years, right? Sometimes people tell you, hey, it's very exciting what you're doing, but it doesn't last long. Cam Newton was 247 pounds and it broke him. You are nowhere close to that. So you may want to slow down on that. I do think he will be a more effective runner this year. I don't think you'll have a much larger number of carries. I think you'll see defenses deciding who they fear more, and he'll be forced at times when the defense reacts to Derrick Henry to take off. And if he has indeed slimmed back down, I think he'll be a more effective runner. He was a guy. Remember, part of the concern about Lamar coming out, and one of the reasons he was on the board so late, is people were worried about his frame. He bulked up to 213. If you remember the whole brouhaha about his weight, he was playing most of his career at Louisville at probably, I'm going to guess, somewhere between 202 and maybe 207, maybe. And so he bulked up to about 213 in his, for the combine, and played probably about that weight his first couple of years in the league, and then has now gotten up in the, into the low 220s, which was probably a little more than he needed to carry, quite frankly. I don't know exactly what he's back down to, but if he's smart, it's probably about 216. I think that's probably about where he probably should play. But either way, he'll be a more effective runner this year, but I don't think it'll be a huge uptick in carries.
What do you think, Don? Do you think Derrick Henry carries the ball over 300 times, or do you think
No.
keeps
a lot?
Not he might carry half that number, but not 300. Derrick Henry is, he's on the. I'm gonna avoid using the word washed up, because he's not washed up. That guy is still probably one of the top 5 backs in the league. But after a while, you have to start lightening your load a little bit, and I think he's at that point. He's like 1984 Earl Campbell, if that makes sense. So he needs to lighten his load. In he might have, this year he might have his highest yards per carry of his career. Getting fewer carries, but getting the most of his yards. So that's kind of what I see his role as, and he'll run over people, and he'll break some yards, and I think he'll have a great season. But 300, no way.
Dave?
Well, I mean, he's as recently as 2 years ago, he ran 349 times. And then last year it was 280 times. So he was only like 20 carries off of that 300 mark. But he's over 30 now. So, and then that's kind of like that magic age with running backs, where a number of them have a precipitous drop in production. I don't think he's going to come anywhere close to hitting his record yards per carry, which was like 5.4 yards a carry about, 5 or 6 years ago, when he just had a tremendous season. But I think the other problem that's going to be for him is he has a bunch of his division games all together, and he's playing in the AFC North now. And that's going to be a little different. And so it's going to be interesting to see how he holds up. I agree with Bill in terms of, I think he makes Baltimore's offense that much more dangerous, because it's like, okay, who do we shut down? We got to pick somebody to shut down. And if you shut him down, then you got Lamar Jackson, who's also become more of a pocket passer. So I'm going to say that he runs under 300 yards this year, probably around 250, or has under 300 carries, like 250, 260. He'll still have a substantial amount, but they might try to meter that because, when he was with Tennessee, he was the offense. In Baltimore, Lamar Jackson is the offense. And now he's like an effective battering ram to help close out games for them. So I think he makes Baltimore dangerous. I hope that doesn't happen, being a Steelers fan, but we'll see how Father Time treats him this season.
They are in that top 10 there, Bill. I mean, Dave. So, Bill, will the Seahawks' new defensive scheme rule the NFC West?
It's an interesting question. I think the West will be very competitive, actually. I think that one of the most improved teams in the league will be the Cardinals. I think they'll be, maybe not a playoff team, but I think they'll flirt with 500. 7-9 is now the question in my mind. I like their front office. I like their coaching staff. Everyone just keeps ignoring the Rams for reasons that I can't quite figure out. I mean, obviously they don't have Aaron Donald anymore, but this team, which finally is getting back its draft picks that it sacrificed for so many years, they draft well, right? I mean, this is where Brad Holmes cut his teeth. They still have Les Snead, who's one of the pound for pound, one of the top 5 or 6 GMs in football. Why do people assume this team's just going to just quietly shuffle away and allow other teams to fight for the West? I mean, the 49ers aren't going anywhere. So, I mean, I think that they'll be a pest. I think they will make life interesting for the 49ers, but the 49ers still, to me, are the class of the division. And the other 3 teams, I think will be pretty bunched together. I think 2 or 3 games will separate all the other teams other than the 49ers from each other.
Interesting. Okay. Don, Jerry still hasn't given Dak an extension. Is Jerry handcuffing the Cowboys with his indecision decision? Will Dak be left holding the bag while CD and Micah Parsons get theirs?
Well, let me just say this. Micah Parsons is the best player for the Cowboys, bar none. Yep. So whatever money he gets, he deserves. Dak, I love Dak. I respect Dak. But, again, this is another quarterback that has a lot invested in him that's not getting the results that Jerry wants. See Tony Romo, same situation. So I don't think, to be honest, I don't think Jerry Jones is going to offer an extension. Yep. I think they'll let the current contract play out and see what happens. That's just my gut feeling.
So you think Dak's going to be left holding the bag, huh?
Yep, I think so.
Well, he already has a bag with $161 million in it.
Yeah.
Well, not a bad bag so far.
Kirk Cousins got a bag too. Maybe he might. His was what, $100 million guarantee. Dak might ask for something crazy. We never can tell. Dave, tell us what's going on there in Steeler Nation. What's been going on? I see there was some news about Cam today. What's going on there?
Well, the thing I was going to mention is on the offense is a lot, and I wish Reggie was on tonight because there's been a lot of talk about Arthur Smith, and some of the players are talking about how refreshing it is to have him as an offensive coordinator. He's changing everybody's roles. That's what Cam Hayward's brother was saying. Connor is the tight ends, the receivers, the fullback, quarterbacks. Everybody is getting changed rules, but they're understanding what they're being asked to do. They're not being told what to do. They understand what they're being asked to do. And plus, a number of the players have mentioned accountability. And, where Matt Canada was a more standoffish character, he just kind of relied on his position coaches to communicate to the players. And Arthur Smith seems to be more hands-on. And the players seem to be responding to it. And several of them have mentioned the word accountability. So in other words, and it's almost like what James Washington, Coach Washington was talking about earlier. It's like, hey, don't settle for mediocre. Be outstanding every time. And that's what these players are saying that Arthur Smith is saying. Now, we're in the honeymoon period. We haven't played any games yet, but I think that's refreshing. The Steelers signed another tight end and another running back since we talked last week. LaMichael Perrine, who's the cousin of Sam J from Kansas City, and then Isaiah Gathers. And again, this is the influence of Arthur Smith. They haven't gotten a number 2 wide receiver. They're building up their running backs and their tight ends because Arthur Smith plays more 12 and 13 packages rather than the traditional 11, which the Steelers always had, where you need more wide receivers. So I just think that's all interesting. An outside note, AD Antonio Brown declared bankruptcy. He made $88 million in his NFL career. But I do know that Vlad TV interviewed him months and months ago, and Antonio Brown months ago indicated that he may have to go into bankruptcy in order to protect his assets. So this may not be this may be a tactical move rather than him having spent all of his money. I think that Antonio Brown, the more I listen to him, he's actually has it more together than some people realize. Is despite his often bizarre behavior. So, and then you said, hey, you said news about Hayward.
Yes.
But I don't think he's signed yet.
He hasn't reported to OTAs yet either.
Oh yeah. And again, he had talked about maybe he was going to be back for the second week. He's always come to the voluntary OTAs, and these are the voluntary ones. So he's not required to show up. What I would look at again is when they get into the mandatory practices. If he's a no-show, then that's something that I would worry about. During the voluntary point, this is giving young players like Keanu Benton. They just drafted a defensive lineman. This is giving all these guys more opportunities to get some work. So I'm not overly bothered by it. He wants to go out as a Steeler. I'm confident of that. It's just a matter of can they agree on a number and how he's going to go out. And so I would wait to see what happens when they start a mandatory practice and see if he's there. And if he's not, then I would start to worry about it.
Okay. All right. Hey, guys. Well, good show tonight. We had a great guest. I'm hoping we can get another one for next week. I'll see what I can do. I like to try to bring in these guys from different sports, different points of view. Bill, I meant to ask you, had you scouted Saquon Hill, the coach that we had on last week?
I remember Saquon Hill as a prospect. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that I figured that you had but yeah, he was a great interview though. I was surprised that he was the age that he was. I thought he was a lot younger. But guys, great show tonight. Don, let's start with you. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well, I read something today on the internet, so it must be true. Y'all, this is some juicy information. So apparently, they had a little. I don't call it a mini camp, but anyway, Caleb Williams has started working out with his team, and they were doing 7-on-7 drills, and he threw like 4 straight interceptions. And of course, there's no video of this that exists. This is just reports coming out of Chicago. So, if you're throwing 4 interceptions in a row against you 7-on-7, that's not a good sign. If this is true, not saying that that's going to be the measuring stick for the season, but it doesn't bode well for Mr. Williams. So I just think I thought that was some interesting information coming in. So just keep right on that situation. And the other thing I need to tell y'all is next week I'll be out of town. I'm going to Florida, so I'll be back, I guess, on the show in 2 weeks. And I'm getting kind of pissed I don't see Reggie and Demetrius in a while. So make y'all see them next week. Tell them Hayes is pissed.
I definitely will. Me and Demetrius might have to come down there together, Don, and take over the barbecue place for you down there.
Oh yeah, hey, I love my visit with Demetrius. We had a lot of fun. I look forward to it again soon.
All right. Well, I know he said he'd be back down that way pretty soon. So we'll see. Right, but I don't think we're coming down now. I don't have a thing about tornadoes. But hey, I mean, hell, Don, they're having tornadoes in New Jersey. So I mean, what's next? Antarctica? So what the hell? Maybe. Bill, I know you have some delicious stuff for us tonight. So why don't you give us your final thoughts?
Sure. So on this day, I don't know if it's considered sports history or just human endeavor history, but on this day, Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary made their final ascent to the summit of Mount Everest. And for some reason, people give all the credit to Sir Edmund Hillary. Now, admittedly, he was the person that organized and did the fundraising, but he would tell you, we're here today, that he would never have made it without Tenzing Norgay, the Sherpa guide who, 1, carried more gear, and 2, guided. I mean, he was the one leading Sir Edmund Hillary up Mount Everest. So when people are giving credit, I think you should give about 60% of the credit to Tenzing Norgay. But Tenzing Norgay didn't actually know his own birthday. But since they ended up summiting Mount Everest, and he did think, as far as you know, that he was born in May, he decided that this was his birthday. So according to Tenzing Norgay himself and his own decision on the matter, this is both his birthday and the day that he and Sir Edmund Hillary made their final ascent to the summit of Mount Everest, May 29th, 1953. And once again, Tenzing Norgay decided retroactively that he was born on May the 29th, in this case of 1914. I want to celebrate the sometimes overlooked pioneer, explorer, mountaineer, and hero that Tenzing Norgay was.
Hey, Bill always has a very interesting fact or a very interesting subject to talk about. Dave, take us home.
Yeah, in reading about Bill Walton, one of the things I've read is that he kept a note on his desk all of his life. And it was a note from John Wooten. And the words really struck me. So what the note said was, quote, "To Bill Walton, it's the things you learn after you know it all that count." John Wooten. So I just thought that was really, really eloquent words. Like whenever I'm teaching class, I like to say that the knowing is the enemy of learning. and this kind of puts it all together right there. So again, a legend. And then the other thing I want to mention is and we didn't talk about it tonight, was they're integrating the Major League Baseball statistics between the National and American League with the Negro Leagues, which I found interesting. I'm not sure how to react to it, because it's kind of like mixing the AFL and the NFL. But I think that it's kind of neat to see where these players, even though they didn't all play against each other for the most part, Satchel Paige late in his career played a little bit in the major leagues, but it's just interesting to see how their statistics mesh together. So I just wanted to mention that too.
Yeah, I was kind of saving that for Demetrius and Bill. I thought that they would end with that. That's why I didn't put any questions in there or talk about it much. But
I think we still can discuss it when Demetrius returns.
Yeah.
But one last thing I'll say, Dave, is a lot of these guys did play against each other, but not in the United States. A lot of these guys did play against each other in Mexico or Venezuela or Cuba before before the revolution. So they played. A lot of these guys played winter ball against each other. They just hadn't played in the States against each other.
Yeah, but those statistics aren't included in this. That they're including the statistics from the leagues that they played in.
Yeah.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that these players. I've read. In fact, when I was researching a play I was writing about Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe, who still is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame, despite the fact that he, depending on who you ask, won more than 200 games and caught, if you count other than games in the States, close to 1,000 games, which there's not people who've won 200 games as a pitcher and caught over 1,000 games as a catcher at any level of baseball. Double Duty Ratcliffe was a rare and spectacular individual and an amazing storyteller. And a wildly entertaining character. But Ted Williams, I ran down some quotes that Ted Williams had on W. Ratcliffe. They played against each other many times in other leagues, in Maracaibo and all these other places. And he said that he was never more impressed by any other ball player anywhere he'd ever seen than Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe. So Ted Williams, who didn't exactly throw around compliments like Nichols. I mean, this is not a guy who just handed out compliments. If you're not familiar with his personality, he was surprisingly unimpressed with some great ball players. If you got a chance to hear Ted Williams talk about baseball players, he was not an easy guy to impress. I'll just put it that way. And he thought the world of Ted Ratcliffe, who still is not in the Hall of Fame. So, I'm going to end up writing an article, I think, about this before it's all said and done, Dave. But there's a lot. The only problem I have is that, and I've done a lot of research on this, the record keeping was a mess. Not at all times, but for several seasons in the Negro Leagues. They didn't always have people whose specific job it was to be
trying to find spiral notebooks and pieces of paper and the information written on the bottom of somebody's shoe. I mean,
So you're pulling things from journalist notes, and I mean, that's my only thing is it's not like the majors in that way.
Yeah. I told you, if you guys want to do, a baseball show, just let me know. I'll give you an hour or so or whatever.
Well, we'll have to wait for Demetrius to return, but yes.
Yeah. It would be interesting if, like, the Pittsburgh Courier carried a lot of their box scores during those.
The Pittsburgh Courier is actually a mother load. They're what
was the new? Was it the New Amsterdam Bill? The sports in New York
that I found the most help from the aforementioned Courier, the Baltimore Eagle, the Amsterdam News was also very helpful. But the ones that I thought were the best, you mentioned the Courier, but also the like I said, the Baltimore Eagle and the Chicago Defender here. Their morgue is replete with good stuff about the Negro Leagues. I think those are the three best that I found.
All right, guys. Well, hey, let's make sure that everybody has a good week. I see everybody had returned safe from Memorial Day. It doesn't look like anybody put on a whole lot of weight or anything there, but but Don, maybe we found somewhere else for you to go, and if you want Coach Washington's information for that young lady, just let me know. You know how to get in touch with me, either text me or whatever, and I'll make sure you get in touch with her.
I'll talk to Coach McWilliams and see if I can find where she's at now, and I can pass that on.
All right. Well, just let me know. I'm always here, to do anything I can. So, you guys be safe. I'll see everybody next week, and hey, have a good night. Talk to everybody soon.
Take care.
Yep.
Hey, it was good.